Hello Sunday Club, I'm sitting here today with my globe because today we are going to start a new series thinking about Christians all over the world. Now last week Aaron read us the story from the end of Luke where Jesus appeared to his disciples. They were amazed, frightened and then excited to see him as he explained all their questions, why it was that he had to die, how come it was that he'd risen from the dead. And then asked them to go and tell everybody the good news about what had happened and why. Now, he asked them to wait in Jerusalem, and some of you made models of Jerusalem last week, remembering the rebuilding of the walls in Nehemiah, but also the disciples waiting for the Holy Spirit that Jesus had told them, the helper that Jesus told them they should wait for before going out from Jerusalem and telling people beyond Jerusalem about the good news of him. Now, the story of Pentecost in the book of Acts tells us how the disciples received the Holy Spirit from God. And having God's Holy Spirit inside them, they had confidence to go out and spread the news of Jesus. The Holy Spirit gave them the words to say to tell other people about Jesus. And we learn from the Bible that the Holy Spirit lives within each one of us and gives us the words to say to speak of him. And we're going to think about Christians and how they worship and live across the world in different countries, some of the different things that have happened in the Christian histories of those countries, and some of the different experiences of people living there today as Christians. So I wanted to start this week by thinking about the whole world and thinking about all the Christians living in it. Did you know that, well, I won't tell you. In fact, talk to the person next to you. Do you know roughly what proportion of the world is a Christian today? Is it a tenth, a fifth, a third, half? What do you think? If you've had a chance to talk to the person next to you, then I'll tell you the answer. It's around about a third of the world's population that are a Christian today, roughly 2.5 billion people, which is an incredible number. Now, we live here, although it probably appears back to front on this video, of course, up in Scotland. Do you know how Christianity first came to Scotland? You may know the names of some saints who are remembered in Scottish history. Of course, there's St Devenick, after whom our church is named, and St Devenick worked to tell the good news about Jesus alongside St Makar, of whom there's a cathedral down in the town centre, and they brought the good news about Jesus to lots of people who were called Picts, living in the northeast of Scotland in the 6th century. And just before them came St Columba, of whom St Makar was meant to have been a follower. And St Columba came across from Ireland bringing the good news. And I find it encouraging to read the old stories about how Christianity first came to the United Kingdom. Sometimes in the stories that are told, it's hard to tell fact from fiction because some of them seem a bit exaggerated or extraordinary, and yet there's clearly faith there, and faith being caught and taught and passed on. And some of the stories are even quite fun. There's one about St Columba rebuking a monster in the River Ness, and people even think that might be the origin of the story of the Loch Ness Monster. So you can go and look up that one if you're interested. But it's great to remember how there were Christians before us telling people the good news about Jesus. So I won't go on to talk about individual countries much more now, because that's what we'll be doing each week in Sunday Club for the next few weeks. But I did want to share with you Psalm 95. Now there's a familiar picture in Psalm 95 of God holding the world in his hands. Now you'll all know the song, He's Got the Whole World in His Hands. But if you listen to these words, then perhaps they'll bring that picture to life for you. Oh, come, let us sing to the Lord. Let us make a joyful noise to the rock of our salvation. Let us come into his presence with thanksgiving. Let us make a joyful noise to him with songs of praise. For the Lord is a great God and a great King above all gods. In his hands are the depths of the earth. The heights of the mountains are his also. The sea is his, for he made it, and his hands formed the dry land. So, your challenge, Sunday Club, is to think about Psalm 95, maybe just the first few verses, and that image of God holding the world in his hands. Can you draw a picture that somehow shows this idea? I look forward to seeing them. Bye.